Hey everyone, welcome to the last Humanology on Air episode before the summer. Yay! I'm Jeeves.
And I'm Josiah.
We will be back in the fall.
Yes.
But yeah, enjoy your summer. Hope you come back with some great stories. And
Can we shout out a couple people?
yes, of course.
Zach, the faithful, behind camera, every month making this happen. Yes, you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's also shout out Andrew
Meffam, Alicia, Eric, Jan Kelley. There's gonna be lots of people, but there's a
all
lot
our
of people
guests
that
who came and joined us from all these wonderful organizations.
Places. Yeah. It takes a lot to keep this going, and yeah. Today we are doing a marketing news roundup.
We're going to cover things like Wrexham, Twitter, Tesla, perhaps Peloton, all the things that are hitting our news feeds that we should be paying attention to as marketers. We'll add our perspective. We will entertain, laugh, cry with us, and enjoy the show.
Let's get to it. All right, so let's start with Twitter. Can we start with Twitter? Part of me is like, what's new on Twitter? I feel like Twitter makes the news constantly. They just left the EU's code of practice against online disinformation. I don't think that's the proper title, by the way, but they just did this. Their value fell by a third. It's just constantly in the news. But why bring it up? Because people are like, who cares about Twitter? I care so much.
I'm in the who cares about Twitter camp. I stopped paying attention.
I have been an advocate for Twitter forever. I loved Twitter. And when when a lot of users left when Elon took over, I was like, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to leave. I like it here. I like the cesspool. Let's see what it is. But as it turned out, my feed is decidedly worse. Like, my experience has changed. I'm getting content that I'm like, I don't want Proud Boys content, actually, if you don't mind. It's not my thing. It's just not good. And over time, my experience has worsened and worsened to the point that I'm not on Twitter anymore. I used to be on it several times a day.
It's a bit scary for the platform, right? That you can have a loyal and
enthusiast,
and you said off camera that you would pay. Like back in the day, you're like, yeah, I would have paid for I'd actually pay money similar to Netflix in order to participate in this
totally
kind of forum.
3 years ago, I would have paid, I don't know if I would pay $8 a month. That feels like a lot for Twitter, but
10, 12.
yeah. You know why? Because Netflix brings you content versus Twitter. It's well, I have to create it, or I have to be a part of creating it. So I feel like that's too much money. But I would have paid to participate in Twitter 3 years ago. Today, I wouldn't pay, even if you're like, okay, Jen, but I'll give you 1 million followers. I'd be like, nah, I'm okay, thanks.
I don't think we have any brand advertising on Twitter.
Yeah.
At the agency today.
Their numbers would confirm that is the case.
And Twitter never really figured that out.
No. And I think this is, so the reason why I want to even bring it up today is from an advertising perspective, I don't think Twitter was ever anyone's number one choice, but for certain brands, it was a number one choice for organic content. And building credibility and influence. There was a lot of room there. Wendy's this year took their annual roast battle off Twitter and they brought it to TikTok. And I feel like this was an annual event where people would tweet at Wendy's and be like, hey, roast me. And that joke writer, I assume there was a team of joke writers, but they were They were great jokes, fire jokes.
Probably the only content I actually paid attention to,
right?
That ended up screenshots of Twitter feeds that I would read.
Yeah, the comedy on Twitter was untouchable as far as I'm concerned. And so Wendy's moved it over. Was it as good? No. which is why I still advocate for a text-based platform, which interestingly, Instagram they'll be sometime in June, actually, they are releasing a
Soon.
text-based app. Yeah, I don't think there's a name for it yet as of this recording, but
So have you been tainted to the whole text space, or like Instagram, you're going to give that a shot? How are you?
I will absolutely
Ooh.
give it a shot. Yeah, as a
Okay.
writer, we belong there. I belong there.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I think, and like, it's when we were talking before about what made it so that Wendy's jokes didn't hit as hard. I mean, they were still great. Like, the jokes were good, but I think there's something in a reader being able to interpret or like infuse a voice into the things that they read. It's why like memes work really well. It's like, no, you can kind of hear it. And then with TikTok, the fact that Wendy's took an avatar and added a voice, it's like, oh, you are taking the interpretation out of my experience, and you are giving me what I'm to hear. But it's funnier when I say it.
It's a bit like when someone reads a book.
Yeah.
And there's a story to it, and they have like played back who those characters are, what it looks like.
Yeah.
Then they watch the movie, and sometimes it's like, no, what have you done? That's not what I did with the character in my head. And it's, I think, similar to what you're saying, is text-based alone leaves kind of room for the interpreter to write the story.
100%. And
Yeah.
I think Instagram, I think TikTok, I think like visual-based media are fabulous, but there is always a place for text-based media, and I will absolutely be checking out Instagram's text-based app. Coming soon, I think.
The other, I want to hit TikTok. Let's talk
Okay.
about TikTok, because we just kind of went into that. So TikTok has been obviously front and center, growing user base, but they also have this kind of underlying owned by ByteDance from China.
Oh yeah.
And so how do we
Didn't Montana just sue TikTok or something?
should we be bullish or bearish on TikTok's future based on how they always end up talking to some like Congress hearing on like violations of data rights and privacy? We run into this with brands going on TikTok. Ooh, I can't comply with those kind of privacy and regulations. So
Guidelines.
what's going to happen? Where is it going?
I mean, I don't know where it's going, but am I bullish or bearish? Bearish means bullish is good.
Bullish good. Bullish is like
To me, I'm like, they're both big, angry animals. I don't understand.
Yes,
and
yes.
one's fuzzier, which makes me think like that should be the good one.
So green or red?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know about like TikTok, the platform, but here's like, it's like Twitter for those who like it. People like it. People like it. People are on it. They like it. Will the app survive regulations? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. But if it doesn't, something will replace it.
And people don't seem to care that, guess what? Your data ends up somewhere in China being aggregated together. Who knows what's happening with it? I mean, anything that's owned in China it can be state kind of, we're not going to go there, but it can be like your data is free to the world. Let's just put it that way. And so they are mining trends and information on users and understanding users. And should we be afraid? That is up for you to decide.
I mean, I shouldn't talk because I don't know. And if you don't know, you should talk to us. But like my feel is like, just as a user, not as anyone who knows things, is like, oh, come on. Are you looking at my personal data? Do you care about me that much? No, you don't.
No.
Why would you? And I think it's like a trade-off people make all the time. And I imagine there are a lot of people like me who are like, I mean, are you really?
The reality is attention is on TikTok, and that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah. And if it's not, like, yeah, be on TikTok. At the very least, here's what I think. I think brands should either be on TikTok or like creating content or be on it to learn about how to create content. And yeah, should TikTok sort of shut down in our zone or whatever? It's like, people like the content, learn how to make it. Because if it's not TikTok, it'll be something else and pop up somewhere else and make that kind of content.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's pushing a lot of algorithm changes too. Like TikTok's algorithm is put a lot of different ideas out into the world. TikTok will expose kind of that content to a select group. It will look at how long people are watching it. Is there any engagement, comments? That will determine whether it kind of goes to the next layer of exposure organically and the next layer and the next layer until it kind of, someone would say, goes viral. And we're seeing like that kind of algorithm style copied across both Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. This idea that if it pops, it does extremely well. If it doesn't, no one really sees it.
Yeah.
And that's just part of, unless you're putting ad spend behind it, that's your organic kind of process.
Yeah.
So it's leading the way in algorithm changes for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say be on it for now.
Be on it for now.
Let it entertain you.
Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we talked Twitter, Elon, Tesla.
Advertising.
Yes.
I was reading that like, Elon is being exposed to the idea of like, spending money on advertising actually kind of matters. And
the backstory is they never did any advertising and really have gone against the traditional auto model, which was mass market advertising. That's how you do it. And now Tesla's up to 4% market share in the US. And when you look at someone like Subaru, who's been in the US since the 80s, they're not even at 4%. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and Tesla's been around 15 years, and they're at 4% market share.
It's not even 4% like EV, it's just across the board. Clearly they're much more than 4% EV.
They have, their Model Y is top 3 vehicles sold worldwide. It's very interesting now that they would say, we need to start doing some advertising, right? And I think of that adoption curve of products entering a market. And now you've got kind of those early adopters. Now you've got some education coming behind EV. But competition's increasing. Every auto manufacturer is saying, EV's everything. Check out all our models we're going to ship. And so I think that's leading to now this idea that, Tesla needs to advertise. What's it going to be? What's the first ad?
That is my big question. And do they do so? Having some experience with automotive marketing, it's pretty traditional in that you've sort of the retail side, so sort of those quarter by quarter offers. And then you have like sort of the big brand advertising and like, advertising vehicle by vehicle or just like the brand at all. Yeah. What will Tesla do? I predict that they won't do retail advertising. I don't predict that you will see the red checker flag event at Tesla. I don't think they'll go there.
One thing Tesla's done is recently, and probably in the last 6 months, a lot of price reductions, which is a little bit, they certainly are on the premium side. Not ultra premium though. If you look at a really nice Lexus or a really nice like BMW, they're comparable.
Yeah.
But now they've been really lowering their prices and they're seeing big demand pickups. And this is from Elon. We'll see on sort of results days. But it'll be interesting, like you said, are they going to go retail or brand? They have a story with retail. They could push, I'm imagining being in the boardroom and talking about what should our campaign talk about. And they've got EV tax credits. They've got lots of kind of incentives
they
to be able
have
to
things
offer.
To say.
Yeah.
I just wonder, is that the brand presence they're going to lead with? And maybe they will. Maybe they will surprise us.
I think it's going to show up an ad and it's going to feel like Apple.
Yeah.
I think it's going to feel like Apple. You might even not sure if like Apple's launching a vehicle or something. Like that's what I feel it could be for the brand, but we're going to find out.
I think it'll be
Silhouette.
Smart. I think it'll be simple. I think they are not going to have legal copy. You know how all car ads have like this much legal copy? And you're like,
with the smallest font possible.
Why?
Yeah.
Back to last episode, you're like, what is the legal risk of just taking that off?
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, why? I feel like try it. Try it, see what happens or doesn't happen, and then maybe we can all just like get rid of that.
Hey, let's have them push the industry forward.
Yeah.
In more ways than just EV.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's talk about Wrexham. This is a Ryan Reynolds play. Do you like him?
I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds. Of course I do.
Okay, there we go. I don't know. Does everybody
What
like
do you
him?
mean, I don't know.
Everybody likes him?
You like him, you like him, you like him.
We all like him.
Everyone likes him.
Wrexham football team. So Ryan Reynolds, gin,
Aviation gin.
Aviation gin, Mint Mobile.
Yeah. Two
And-
companies he no longer owns.
Yes, because he sold them for boatloads of money. And now Wrexham football, which is a Welsh team. And so I'm brushing off my Welsh here. Dwi'n barod I cymotha now, which is I'm ready for that assistance now, Ryan Reynolds.
Do you know Welsh?
No.
Did you practice that
I
before
lived in
this?
Wales
Yeah.
for a period of time.
Yeah.
And there was a very kind Valleys boy who I bought some cups, some mugs off of. And he taught my wife and I some Welsh. Well, someone will fact check me, I'm sure. As they should. Very important.
No one's gonna.
So yeah, North Wales, Wrexham Football League. So we talked about this before. Ryan Reynolds is just a marketing genius. And that's his play. When he took Mint Mobile, owned by T-Mobile, and leveraging the network of T-Mobile,
Yeah.
he's basically white labeled a cell phone brand and then just
Yes.
built a brand around it.
Yes. When, to clarify,
Yes.
T-Mobile didn't own Mint Mobile, but they owned the network.
Yes.
And then,
They leveraged the infrastructure.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no difference in, if anything, the product or the quality of the product is probably worse because you'd be second to the primary T-Mobile.
Yeah, and it was a budget brand.
Yeah.
It was like a
Low cost.
Totally.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
here for the people.
Yeah, that whole model is just a marketing driven model. He basically flipped a brand is what Ryan Reynolds did. It's what he did with Gin Aviation. Because when you think, I'm not suggesting gin is a commodity. I know that they're like, you can infuse botanicals in it, blah, blah, blah. But like to the average gin drinker, gin is gin, right? It is essentially a commodity unless you're like an aficionado. But yeah, he took aviation gin, and he just added a personality to it. He took a commodity, added a personality to it, and then sold it. I think he sold it for like, 0.6 billion, and then for Mint Mobile, I think 1.35 billion, just by being, and like you could say correctly, it's like, well, you could say like, oh, well, he's a celebrity. You're like, yes, he is. And all day that's going to help him out. Of course it will. But there are a lot of celebrities that couldn't do what he's done. Yeah. And it's really like, no, you carved out a personality, a voice, an approach, and you like a fearlessness, and you stuck with it, and people like it. And he's one of these people that isn't worried about like, oh, can I say that on camera? Like he's just unapologetically himself, and people are like, yeah, take my money. It's crazy.
And now we're going to watch the playbook that he's learned from Aviation Gin and Mint Mobile play out with Wrexham, right? He's just, I think if you're a case study style, like just track the story, because you're just seeing pieces of excellent marketing, branding at work. Both on the PR side, name change, how he's, it's very, it's a great, Ryan Reynolds, well done.
Yeah.
Bravo.
He also has an agency called Maximum Effort. So he does actually other marketing for brands, which is not us telling you that you should go to Maximum Effort Agency, but it's saying like,
we're probably cheaper.
well, that's probably
Thank
true.
you. Yes. Not that that's a selling point for Jan Kelley.
That's so funny. No, but I think at the very least, I think it's like, yeah, watch this guy. He is a masterclass in marketing. And I also think at the very least, like, take notes for your own brand. You can make money by infusing personality into something that is, into a product that isn't necessarily this like niche innovative product. Like commodities, like add a little personality, or in his case a lot, and see what happens.
He just finds a way to cut through in very industries that are just, you expect a certain thing. He just finds a way to cut through, and he does a really great job. Mm-hmm. So if you work with Maximum Effort, please tell us how it went. Peloton.
Oh, jeez.
This is a bit of a rant. May I?
Yeah.
So why is it? Okay, Peloton, height of the pandemic, a darling, excelling so well. Then it kind of crashes, obviously, because people were let out of their homes. Wow, big shocker. And then they bring in a new CMO. And what does the CMO do? To shock the world, another CMO announces a brand refresh. A bloody brand refresh to a brand that just came out of nowhere. Like, it's pains me just to see, like, how many times a new CMO says, I'm going to make my statement here and get the troops aligned, so let's do a brand refresh. Is it required, really?
I don't know, but I have to read you this quote that I found from Strategy Online about this exact thing. And
Please do.
And then you're going to tell me what you think of this quote.
Okay.
So the quote is about the visual identity refresh from CMO. Everything starting with a new color palette from red, white, and black to lime green, lilac, and ultramarine. It's everything from the new color palette to a new approach to photography and model selection. All real people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, to a new new video assets, new typography. If you look at our retail store's website, email marketing and performance marketing, you'll start to see a significant shift. The move from a primary to secondary color palette creates a whole new energy, sends a strong signal that Peloton wants us to forget the old scandal-ridden hardware brand and embrace the new mobile-first digital one, end quote.
Wow. It really had me at going from red, white, and black to lime green, ultramarine, and lilac.
Yeah.
That's really going to get me interested in the brand. I can't wait to see it. Like, this is just ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. You walk by in any mall, and the Peloton retail experience, like, who wants to, while they're walking, be like, yeah, I'd like to hop on a treadmill and run for a minute while I'm in the mall? Like, they're always empty. No one's ever in there. Nobody cares.
What I'm hearing is that you feel that this is a strategy issue, not a marketing issue.
Correct.
Yeah.
And like, I get it, new brand, refresh. Like, I get this is the cycle that happens. CMOs last, I think it's less than 2 years at a brand, and then they're moving on. And so what are you going to do in that time period to really kind of make your mark?
Change the
palette. I get it, but the business strategy is just wrong. It's just wrong. Like, they should have talked to Lululemon and did some partnership that brands feel similar, like extend out of the clothes. It's very silly. It bothers me.
Okay.
There's a $10 million budget just flushed down the drain from the new CMO. I hope I get a LinkedIn message that says, screw you. There's so much thought into this. Anyways.
Oh, I'm sure there was
welcome to another brand.
I'm sure there was a ton of thought in the actual rollout of the typography and the new assets. And
with real people. Oh,
with
thank
real
goodness.
People. But something tells me that might not be the problem.
I don't think so.
What's the takeaway? The takeaway is not all problems are marketing problems.
I agree.
Okay.
They are not. Hopefully that was useful.
You know what I think we should talk about? I think we should talk about GA4, Why? Because it is changing within days.
Yes.
And if you have a website, this pertains to you. And I think, we should tell you, because we care. It's time to change over your Google Analytics. How would you describe GA4 in a tweet?
Oh, a tweet.
Well,
In the Twitter sphere.
never mind.
No?
Forget it. Not in a tweet. Or fine. How would you describe the change?
Yeah, it's Google's enhanced measurement solution based on really privacy. It is a movement towards better privacy for users in a cookieless world. And it's been a long time coming. It would not shock me if a day before the official rollout, it's like, psych, another 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
But hopefully this sticks. So if you've set up GA4 and it's just sitting there collecting data, it's about time to use a migration tool or use some of the tools that Google's got to really set up your tracking, because you need to get it down.
Yeah. I think also something worth talking about, and I say this because somebody on the Jan Kelley side told me this, and I was like, that seems valuable. Is how it affects reporting. So like, even if you're not the person who's like going in and changing and doing all of that stuff, I think as marketing leaders, it's like, okay, we should just understand how our reports are going to look a little bit differently. And even just how we understand like metrics, like bounce rates. We used to think about them in one way, and now we need to think about them in new ways. So I'm reading, because this is how like internalized this knowledge is to me. Bounce rate will technically be available, but it won't match what the current UA will tell you, and it'll likely be much lower. I've also heard that conversions will be higher because Google is counting.
Yeah, it's just measuring attribution differently than the default setting on Universal Analytics was always last click, and now it's going to the data-driven route, which kind of tries to look at the entire journey and balance it over time. So it will, anytime there is a shift in how you're measuring, whether you're moving to a different marketing solution, like into Eloqua, Adobe, Salesforce, whatever, or you have a different pixel installed, measurement always takes a little bit of time to kind of get your benchmarks back and what you can measure and what you can't. So the transition, it's a good point. There is a transition period. Give yourself some freedom to look at the data and start to try to understand it in a different way. I know if you've worked with Google Analytics for the past 10 years, you've learned it Universal Analytics inside and out. You're gonna have to do some new training. You're gonna have to help bring clients along or your internal teams at a brand to be able to understand it again. So there's some work.
Yeah.
But it's the right move based on where we're going, cookieless. So
Right.
it's good.
I also heard that like demographic information is going to be less complete.
Yeah, it's been stripped out of a lot of platforms,
Okay.
demographics. So it's a little bit,
So if you're in the
identifiable.
world, you already know that. If you're in like the analytics world and your sleeves are
Yes.
rolled up, you already know it. But
Yes.
but do like people at maybe a higher level that aren't in it, would they know that?
Now they do.
Good.
Is it time for generative AI?
Yeah.
ChatGPT?
Yeah. You know what I heard, and heard doesn't mean anything, but I still think it's interesting if it's true. I think it's true because it was from a marketing like news source versus like, I don't know, it wasn't Twitter, for example, but they're saying like brands that mention AI are seeing higher engagement rates. Like the more you mention AI in your content, the higher your engagement rates are. Like that's how meaningful AI is to people right now. It's time for AI. So hop on it. Just like in your company newsletter, just write a subject line with AI and people will love it.
And this is about relevance, right? Because if the
Yes.
big trend is everyone's talking about AI and ChatGPT, some of the stats were in the general population of the US, it was 40-ish% have heard of ChatGPT. Like a pretty mass population, very quickly, some awareness of this tech, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And there's different camps, right? There's the camp of this is going to take my job. 10 years from now, I'll have no purpose and
Take my job.
just take it. Or there is this excitement, this kind of, wow, I think this could be transformative. I could see how this could support my team. I could see how. And there's generally those two camps.
I mean, it's already like at Jan Kelley, we are already using it in like helping us. I use it for like brainstorming, to even like to get a start on something. I find it quite clunky. So you can't just take what you get. You can't take a result and just plop it into a deck or something. Like you really have to get in there and massage it, and it can be a little hack. Like it'll give you like the hackiest answers, but sometimes it'll give you something you're like, okay, I can actually work with that. There's writer AI. There's AI. You can use AI to like help you write social calendars and like those like really tedious projects like that are time consuming. We are already using it. I don't know if our ADs are using it for Photoshop yet. I know Adobe has like an AI Photoshop.
Yeah, the Firefly.
Yeah.
I think is what it's called, which is very similar to kind of DALL-E and off that tool of creating imagery based on text.
Yeah.
So I'm of the mindset where you talk about like you should mention AI to get attention. I also see that we are disclosing when AI is supporting what we're doing. Right. So if you used AI, you should kind of disclose that you're using AI.
It's funny because nobody has talked to me about this. Like I've heard conversations about this, in the industry, but I've not heard anyone in our building talk about like, hey, if you use it, best practices to talk about it. Is it because you're like, because they shouldn't have to?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So some examples, when Photoshop came out and suddenly your art directors and graphic designers could use this tool, were they disclosing on their imagery that this was like Photoshop supported to create? No, of course not.
Right.
Because it's simply a tool to help you do the end result.
Yeah. I don't say like I used a thesaurus to like figure out a different word for this.
Yeah. Can you disclose when you use that particular thesaurus?
Yeah.
That would be really helpful to me.
Do you feel like there's a threshold of like, okay, if you're using it to help you brainstorm, surely you don't have to like, it's just a tool to like that generates prompts, right? But, let's say you generated a piece of content and you changed 10% of it and it was 90% AI generated. Do you feel like there's like a threshold where you're like, no, you should say that?
No.
All right.
You own the rights of it.
Right.
And so unless there's been some copyright or trademark material that ChatGPT has used to then create your stuff, which can be a little bit, that's where the legal side of it gets hairy, but you don't really know. I don't think so. And I think it'll go away quickly, like this mentioning AI has been supporting it. And you talk about ghostwriting. So if you have a ghostwriter, which is a very common practice, just Google it, write a book for you or write a post for you. Like, are you saying, if I were to hire a ghostwriter and then post it on LinkedIn, do I say, supported by my ghostwriter? Like, no, it's stupid. No. Like, of course not. And yet that is 100% or 90% driven by somebody else.
Right.
So I think it's silly. I think hopefully that will go away fairly quickly because it's just commonplace. It's commonplace.
I feel like I've moved very recently from AI is going to take my job to AI is going to cause the extinction of humanity. Did you hear about this? That several creators of AI got together and released a 22-word statement about the future of AI, sort of warning civilization, like, hey, this could be really bad. And you're like, oh my, it's like the Jurassic Park scientists being like, by the way, We thought this would be cool, but raptors are serious. They will hunt you down.
Yes, the
Did you hear
petition
this?
signed by tech leaders as well. There's been references. Whenever you have people who are really smart, like the Bill Gateses of the world, and they are all in agreement that we do not understand, I would say, we do not understand the risks,
Right.
the future risks and implications on humanity and society.
Yeah.
So we should spend more time there. They're probably right. We should probably spend more time there.
Do you want me to read you the 22-word
yes.
thing? Okay, so this is what the creators of AI are telling you and me.
Yes.
Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. Part of me is like, thank you, but then new fear unlocked, I guess. But part of me is also like, okay, cool, thanks for the sentence. What are y'all doing about it? And I think about like who is in the best place to do something about it. And I was thinking about this in contrast to Edelman's, is it Edelman or Edelman, the agency? Anyway, they do like a trust barometer every year, and trust, surprisingly, all-time low. Like with media, especially government trust, all-time low. Hilariously, business is like the most trusted institution, which is insane. I think there's an opportunity there, by the way, if you're like a business and you are public facing or if you're like a creator, a content creator, like Mr. Beast should run for president, I think. Anyway, that's an aside. But you think about like, you know, if government intervenes with regulation, I don't know, like people will probably be like, well, we don't trust that. And you're trying to control us. And then you've got like the AI creators being like, oh, no, this could be like war games real quick, where like somebody tries to unplug the AI and then it's like interpreted as an act of war. And then they just fire off all the missiles and we're dead.
Well, there has been historically government intervention in like genome sequence, like, right? Like government has intervened and we've said we're not doing that.
The ozone crisis of the 90s, like it's like, no, we got to like wrap this up. And you know, and they did. I'm not suggesting no government, but I feel like the like, okay, what I've been alerted to is like, okay, there's actually some risk, and like forget your job. Like there's like risk of like this falling into
Capital R.
some very strange and nefarious hands, and then being like, okay, so yeah, where does, I mean, like government, but also like, I guess, industry. I just feel like whoever it is, I'm sure there'll be a lot of stakeholders, but I feel like they're going to have to deal with the perception that there is some control.
So humanity does a pretty good job at surviving. And I think, I hope that we would organize ourselves in a way that mitigates the risk of AI taking over and eliminating civilization. That would be nice.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
And what I'm getting is like, oh, this is like maybe a little more pressing. And by pressing, I don't mean like tomorrow. I mean like, you know, it might be like 10, 20 years, but it's like, oh, this is probably something that industries should start thinking about now.
Yes.
And I didn't know that before. I was way back then thinking about my little job. Now I'm like, uh-oh.
And it's not a new notion. Like there has been talks of like general intelligence through AI and what are the implications. It's not.
There have been movies.
Yeah, there's a couple movies out there that might support this. So I think it's good. Let's rally together and sort out. This is good.
It's good that the flag has been raised. And I think if we've learned anything from climate change, it's being like, well, putting fear, like talking about total destruction doesn't actually motivate anyone to do anything anyway. So it's like, you know, maybe just the like, hey, we could use some regulations or, yeah.
Yes.
More on that to come, I'm sure. It's just I literally just learned about this. And now you have to be on this journey with me. of doom.
We will update again on the state of the world against AI.
Yeah, but first, more marketing.
We're winning. Apple Vision Pro. Augmented reality. Should we call them glasses or goggles?
A ski mask.
If you want to wear a white ski mask retailing for $5,000, have I got a product for you? To be fair, it looks cool. Just from the kind of immersive pain of your apps and interface interacting with your environment, it looks cool. Who doesn't want more than 4K quality on every eyeball? Like, try going to sleep after that. That'll be good.
Yeah.
I'll need to up my melatonin dose.
I don't think I want one, but I feel like the takeaway is like, okay, this is coming for us as a group. Like,
yes.
Like these types of products will just snowball, and this will become more a part of our lives. Hopefully, they'll be able to make it like more, like when Tim Cook talked about like, a sleek pair of glasses versus like a balaclava. That like also like records videos.
Dad, why do you wear your ski mask inside?
I'm recording videos. Family memories.
Yeah, it's a good thing I have a cell phone for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get one yet?
No.
Yet.
It's way outside of any price range that makes any sense.
No, yeah, it's too much.
Would I try one? 100%.
Okay.
Yes. If anyone gets one, send us a note. I'd love to play with it. New stuff. It's fun. Yeah.
These are the fresh marketing insights you can expect from us.
I mean, let's play out a real scenario, right?
Okay.
So, remote team members. Mm-hmm. We like them. We need them.
We do.
They contribute well to an organization. If we can give a more immersive experience for them on specific times of the year, or if it's baked into hey, this is just part of the cost of having a remote team member, you add this AR device and there's a lot more interaction and involvement that improves retention, improves engagement. These are real benefits. I mean, it could end up there, which is great. And obviously there's a personal, they want it in the household, but I think there's definitely corporate application for things like this.
I feel like architects are already doing it. No, not with this necessarily, but like with a version
There
of
are
it.
similar versions, yeah. Microsoft has,
Yes,
Lens.
Oculus.
No, Lens. I think it's just called Lens.
Lens.
Yeah.
And then everyone wears them and they go in
Oculus
and they bring
Rift is
their
Meta.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really gotta read. I gotta read more.
Yeah, it's because you're off Twitter.
You know what? I used to know so much more. Like, yes, I was infused with like a lot of hateful thoughts, but I used to know, like I would follow journalists, so I would actually like get more news, and I feel like my news consumption has gone down just exponentially since not being on Twitter. I don't know anything anymore. I'm happier about it, but
overall, I'm happier as a person. It's really improved my quality of life, but I'm upset.
I don't know.